Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.6. Okay, let's continue this. Oh, up the speed by, let's see, 2. Okay, 1 there and pushing on them. Yes, good. And we're winning down there. The big prize, of course, is Paris. And we won again there as everybody's retreating. Oh, they're attacking my division and they got reinforcements in. Good. Okay, all these guys are here. Just noticing the Flak 88s. Those at least weren't commonly assigned to divisions at this time, you know, as normal division guns. At least that's my understanding of them. So, you know, and again I say normally, and I don't remember, you know, Infantry Division X didn't have some Flak 88s, or even Panzer Division X didn't have some Flak 88s, but they were definitely used, definitely like there as Luftwaffe, which that's what those are. And we're getting hammered by the RAF. But they were also signed around as corps level assets too within the army, not just as Luftwaffe assets. And right in around this part of France, don't exactly sure where, Rommel himself, so I think it was maybe attack of Charbis, or some, it was an attack of some tanks, counterattack of some French tanks, and he spotted a Flak 88 battery very nearby and basically drove up to it and started personally directing the fire of the Flak 88 battery against the tanks. And that was about the only thing in the field that could maybe even it was Matilda's, but could penetrate the Matilda armor. Okay, you're a bit exhausted, but we're going to head you down here. Finally get rid of that little pocket. Don't know if finally is the right word, but just back from seeing Dunkirk. Now this could be even a bit longer of a wait than I'm thinking, but between making this and releasing this, so don't take it as whatever today, the day that this is released, is what I'm talking about, but just finally saw Dunkirk. Very realistic, I would say. Did a good job with it. I'm sure that some of the stuff was compressed. I won't spoil too much of it, but because it is still fairly new. And like I'm just now seeing it. Yeah, but I mean compressed as in, well, they focus on 3 fighters, the British Spitfires, and that's the only pilot you sort of see in the thing. And I'm sure that more things happen to those 3 Spitfires than the average Spitfires would have had in one mission over Britain. Because as they say in the beginning of the movie, so I know I'm not spoiling anything, that just in 1 hour of time basically they show, you know, in segments for the Spitfires, because they would go fly over, engage the enemy, fly back, refuel, rearm, because often they would come back with you know, empty guns. So those guns just lasted just a few seconds. Do we still have more leadership points? Yep, okay, we do. Air defense network. Okay, supply production. Power. Yeah, that's all seems reasonable. The reductions for all of that, because that means, you know, more. You know, effectiveness of anti-aircraft guns can simply mean you got more ammo for them. So that would cause more supplies to be needed, but so we'll get that going as well. And what's this? Abandoned equipment. Control Dunkirk. Oh, so we control Dunkirk. Is this something that's gonna... I think we'll remain in control of Dunkirk. Cool. Man, see mentioning this. The thing. Okay. Abandoned equipment. Okay. As you can see from the picture, there was a lot of equipment abandoned. Some of that sort of kind of looks burnt out because all the tires are missing. They did burn out a bunch of stuff, but there was a bunch of stuff captured, and most of the stuff was sabotage so that it wouldn't run. But you know, there was a lot of trucks. The BEF, the British Expeditionary Force, was mostly motorized, so they were just huge amounts of trucks, and I'm sure it clogged the town of Dunkirk with trucks, and they couldn't light them all on fire because they light the town on fire, and so, you know, there was a lot of you know, stuff there that they couldn't just burn out, and a lot of it is repairable. You know, obviously the burnt out vehicles probably aren't so much repairable or scrappable. Get a lot of nice steel, so yes, okay, so various chances of stuff, and I don't know, did we get a super good one? Not so much, but not so bad. Some light vehicles, anti-aircraft guns, AAs, or any tank and AA. Take a while before it becomes any sort of use. I know the Germans got some Bren gun carriers, enough as in 10 or 20. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't lots to be able to later mount. You come down. You, with your heavy again, support and attack it that way. You can't attack. Well, how long? Oh, 1 hour. We can wait an hour. Yeah, shit, 1 hour. Yeah, so they're probably going to be slowly that way. Okay, Gross Deutschland. Keep the eyes on the prize. See, I have sort of 3 basic objectives here, just to explain myself at this point. One is to get Paris. That's sort of the big in victory points. As someone was asking, I think recently on a I think for B-Ice for Hearts of Iron 4 forum, but posting, but it goes for both games. I think national unity is too high for most nations. I've gotten some testing feedback for Hearts of Iron 4 version of Third Reich events that it's a little too hard, he thought, keeping national unity together for Germany. And I'm intentionally making it hard, but I'm taking the feedback seriously. I'm also trying out Assault on the Garrison Division there. See if it does any good. But nothing else. Maybe it'll pin the forces. Germany did not have national unity leading up through the period. There was a lot of pushback, various from continuing and through to the end of the war on, I know I've talked about this a bit more, and I've been learning a bit more about it, various Christian, both Protestant and Catholic groups, that kind of pushback. They're mostly on the National Socialism ideology. You're getting pushback on that. But there was also, including in the army, massive pushback or lack of unity on the idea of going to war. The war was traumatic for everybody who participated, even for America. I mean, compared to France, Britain, Germany, whatnot, it wasn't traumatic for that many Americans. Probably what was more traumatic was the influenza thing that swept. I mean, the flu, the flu used to really be a death sentence. It still can be nowadays, at least in America, for the elderly and the very young and otherwise other, sick people. If you've already got cancer or some, you're otherwise very vulnerable, the flu can be deadly. But for most Americans, the flu is just a severe cold, if you will. But there were, and that's partially because of overall better health, partially because of better medicines, but also partially we built up a natural resistance. The people that didn't have it are already dead. Many more people in America died in the early 20s, 1920, 1922, or whatever, I'm not sure on the exact dates, from the flu sweeping through the North America, and to where some towns would lose maybe 50% of the population. It wasn't quite as bad as the plague, but I would say millions of people died from it. And somebody can look it up if they want to post the real numbers if they think I'm over exaggerating. So, but more death. It's not as traumatic maybe as going to war and having your family member killed way off in the far lands, but I don't know. And even living through it, having your parents or your children or whatever die from you, that's a post-traumatic stress disorder in and of itself. So the U.S. was hit by that, but the U.S. wasn't nearly as hit as bad, obviously, in World War I particularly. World War II, a bit more, but as France and Germany. So it was a traumatic thing, and there was very little German unity for going to the war. This is why this is entirely unrealistic. Consumer goods zero. Germany had to keep, or I don't know if had to, but did keep, rationing was coming into effect most assuredly, but trying to keep civil goods up to normal pre-war standards through a lot of this period, to sort of trying to show the people, oh, this is just a war, no problem, we're all going to be fine. So there really wasn't German national unity until the fall of Paris and France going out. Then you start having massive German national unity for Hitler and the Nazis and fighting the war. And that, because of things and conditioning, lasted up and through to the end, because there was enough evidence, just barely enough evidence, of wonder weapons coming out. Obviously, in a 1940 wonder weapon, hey, that's the the Me-262 fighters and the 163 or jet fighters and the 163 rocket fighters. Those are wonder weapons. V1s and V2s are wonder weapons. So the Germans were seeing wonder weapons coming out. So enough of them believed that that could still win the war even as things were collapsing. So the national unity held, but there was not a lot of it, and particularly not a lot in France, because France was a very disunited country. Not just over the war, but just generally speaking, France is a very disunited country. So the national unity is just a little too high. But so to knock that down, though, because obviously, look, Paris is a wonderful city. I've visited it a few times. I understand. I remember finding one Muslim neighborhood, but that was way back. Now it's sounding old, folks, but that was before the Berlin Wall fell. So that was probably back in 1988 or something like that. And that, a Muslim neighborhood that was a bit spooky, that I sort of stumbled in wandering around the underground and just sort of taking it out and walking around Paris. So it's a wonderful city, and I can understand why that if you have not encircled it in defenses and other sorts of defensible things, that you don't want to turn it into a battleground and have an open city, even if you sort of have national unity. But they didn't have national unity. So, and so much of the industry is up in this part. I don't know the percentage, but a lot of it is up in this part of France, in and around Greater Paris. So with that falling and not wanting to have a fight over Paris, it just shows you that they don't have any unity, or much national unity, which of course is different than here in the game. Okay, you join this attack here. We want to keep pushing. Here I mostly just want to make sure we've got everybody sort of held back. Here is actually pushing on Brussels. And because of the lack of national unity that France had, and as well as, like I was talking about the German belief, the common people, including the soldiers. I mean, because they were out there dying, and they were still fighting while their families were dying back in, Germany, being bombed. That's a very real factor, and so that they were doing that still, believing that the people had been convinced enough about this and the Maginot Line. Maginot Line was breached in a few places by the Germans, probably about this stage or so in the war. But even the breaches weren't necessarily very big. And not necessarily, if it was just those breaches, they probably would have been able to move and seal them up and hold them. If that was it. Obviously, that wasn't it. They did, there was a lot more. Going on than just those breaches. Oh, those are the Brandenburgs. What? Oh, these are the I left behind because they hadn't. But we're moving forward now. They just come on the map, but not very full up. What was the Panzer Division doing back there? But as you can see, they were not up to strength. The initial outset. Yeah, should have been moved up sooner, but as long as they're coming now. Okay, who isn't? Okay, you guys aren't. Oh, keep interrupting myself. One major goal is get Paris. The other goal is, which we're seeing here, is to try to work and cut off the Maginot Line. And the third is to sort of move along the coast. Those are sort of my three sort of prongs that I'm doing. Move forward. And so, like, here. That way. So these are useless. No, not those, but these, because these have no strength. They'll immediately evaporate if I go on the attack with them. Oh, you should be in the fight. You should be in the fight just to get the damn fight over, and then we can send you off somewhere else. Because once we get that, this basically ends. Weird. Okay, you go down to Den Haag, because you're coming. Okay, we're only getting those rare materials. Okay, this should move pretty fast, so what I want to do is you've got some tank battalion, motorized infantry, various commandos. No, you're down that race. I think we're having enough stuff heading for Paris. Let's take it. Oh good, finally got that. Oh, that's nice. Whereas, one sort of halfway decent counterattack happened by French and British armor. Production. Reduce. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff still. Oh, we're almost getting our air landing infantry. Might be useful for going after Norway. Okay, no orders. So you come down through Campienne. Through Paris. And you do the same thing. Just as fast as you can go. Ah, come on. Behave yourself. Oh, come on, there's just a bunch of French units. You can take them. Okay, well they're counterattacking. Okay, air search radar advance. Good. That is Not that one, that would be this one. Okay. Let's come over here. Keep some of our technical developments in development. Well, that's an old path. We don't need to plunge into there, so let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get across this river. Come down this way. Into the airport. There we go. Let's see if that'll help out. These guys will be catching up soon to help force the river crossing. Oh good, this is finally getting to be a much better assaulting on Brussels there. And the Belgians are sort of cut off and isolated along with the Dutch now. These not fighting. They should all be. Just if nothing else for the experience, but also to be ready to shift forces. If there is much problem in the south. Oh good. Got Rotterdam. That's where a student was shot. I believe, oh, they're counterattacking my transport unit. And there it goes. So it looks. Okay, you guys. Forward, 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 forward. They're moving forward, they're moving forward. You move. Okay. And we've gotten more leadership from taking more cities. Yeah. I think that's a worthy thing. No, we'll take whatever fuel you have when we invade. I think I've got enough heading towards Paris. So let's move some of this down this way. Looks like we're still fighting at Calais. No, we don't want fuel Romania. Good. Reduce their pockets a bit more. And they've counterattacked and secured that. Okay, well, we're going to change your tasking and come down this way. You keep moving that way, and you have some cavalry and heavy artillery. Don't know if they're going to get anywhere with that attack. Okay, integrated armored fighting vehicle support battalion into all of these different various division types, including unique ones. So good. Submarine fire control systems have advanced. Basically better able to calculate where the ship and the torpedo will meet. Okay, now let's look at armor 1940s. Well, we can improve light armor. We got a bunch of that still. So let's do that. Oh, and SSHQs have advanced. Well, since we want them for occupation duties as well as to reduce the time in between attacks, we're going to keep studying that. Yeah, we want more of the bad guys. And so we also have more research points, leadership points. We're still doing good up on here, so let's do this, and it'll help movement through various terrain types. I don't know, I just love this so much more than, because right here, so much more than Hearts of Iron 4. Just the look of it to me. This is obviously the political map. Sometimes I think I wish we had this back for Hearts of Iron 4. You might be able to come in and do it. Hey, need to be like very clear just what is this, you know, is it hills, is it mountains, is it forest, is it plains, you know, we got, you know, woods or forest, you know, just different density levels. Love that I can clearly see city, you know, cities, urban, clearly see, and obviously with good map makers they can create all kinds of things, a unique city, or you know, that's super easy to take or super hard to take, I don't know. And I like this, that this is sort of, to me, the pretty map. I just love this. But I also love that now maybe I will admit, going to be sort of sarcastic here, but use sort of the modern term, my World War II privilege. You know, not everyone is privileged as I am in World War II and can recognize all the symbols, so they need a little model of a soldier standing up there. Well, yeah, that's true. Here I can recognize, because this and this is Panzer Division, this and this is a Panzer Division. They kept a lot of those pretty damn similar. So I'm presuming most of these other, obviously this I know to be core level HQs, most of these other symbols that aren't Panzer Division I'm taking to be just infantry divisions of one type or another. But if I want to, and we can adjust this, just click it out, and by look it there, to see what the sort of types is. Now these are unique units of the Waffen SS, so I know what those are too. But it just so cool to be able to click here and see 12th Division type symbol here, and still have in the background that it's a somewhat motorized or whatever, so that I can see who I'm fighting. I just like this aesthetic so much better. Now, if we were talking, and I hope many of you are checking out my Blitzkrieg 3 videos. Naval was nice enough to not only give me a copy of it, they've given me a few extra copies that I'm able to give away. Still going to give away a few more of those. And it's not the perfect game, but it's a good game. We can, there's some other stuff. There's a new one that is not yet out that's going to be, it's a role-playing command game. I haven't actually got my hands on it, but I've seen some demo on where you're like a squad leader, but you've got to sort of role-play the squad leader, get them to advance and know they're being fired on and suppressed. I don't know, your choice is to yell at them to get moving, or to shame them into moving. I don't know. It's a role-playing game, and when it comes out, don't know when. They haven't announced that yet, but there's other things that are a little bit more unique. But when it's like that, a squad level game where either a squad is moving around or individual soldiers moving around, I want a 3D man and a 3D tank. That's what I want. When we're talking tactical game, a tactical game, I want that even if one man sort of equals a squad, and he has, slowly, lose hit points or something, as you will, or some such thing. So, that's cool. But when we're talking this kind of strategy, now I don't need this, the counter for the air. So wish we had a bit more air control over the air for Hearts of Iron 4. But the idea of lacking a counter of them moving around, meaning we just sort of have the general sort of buzzing around it gives you an idea. If your guys are shooting down enemy fighters, that generally means you're doing better than they are. If their fighters are shooting down your fighters, generally means they're doing better than you are in that zone. So I can deal with that thing, and I can also deal with ships, because ships are honking big things. Okay, where I worked for many years, I could look out the window and just sort of see part of it from where I looked out the window, but I could see the Queen Mary, which has a World War II history. So let's end this. So I sort of know how big the Queen Mary is, and ships of the period, and obviously modern battleships, and and super tankers in the harbor that I could look out the time and see, are much bigger. So I'm open to the idea of having a ship out here. Obviously it's bigger than realistic, so we can see it, but a ship is a single big thing. So those I'm cool with, but I just really prefer the counter. Like here, see cool counter things. To me, that's just really cool. And at least for me, and before I encountered the first, I think this is UTR, but it could be German graphic augmentation. Sorry, revolver held, or blanking on it. UTR's maker. If I'm getting which mod is wrong, I didn't know right offhand that the red, white, red was the sign of the Flak artillery right offhand, but I quickly learned it. I learned it in a few seconds, and have not since once I encountered it, not had any confusion about it. And again, I sort of suspect most people would come under that heading. I'll be able to learn about it quickly enough so that they are not significantly handicapped by okay, you're motorized, you're semi-motorized. you're going to go here. You're going to drive over here to help support that. So yeah, I just aesthetically love this better. And so, you know, obviously we don't have supplies in Hearts of Iron 4. We have supply effects. This is, and trust me, this has been debated in various forums. Won't go say beyond that. Oh, there's supply. No, there's supply effects in Hearts of Iron 4. There is no supply in Hearts of Iron 4. There's a difference. And, you know, region mode, to me this is useless, really. It sort of, to some degree, equates to the state. Now, the state is what the smallest thing you can control, so it does sort of matter. For diplomatic, yeah, I never use it. Not that it's not useful. This, obviously, which was really clear, is revolt risk. And seeing, oh, we have a fair amount of upset people. So let's, because I don't think we're going to be strategic, move him up there, and let's keep him back in there. You know, revolt risk, I like this. This is clear. If we're looking at infrastructure, this is pretty damn clear. Victory points. Now, this is something that, not that you can't have this map mode in Hearts of Iron 4, but is not really needed, because since they don't have provincial names, I like province names. I wish they would have province names, but I can live without them so long on the map, so long as when I clicked on the province, it would be put over here in their version of a province information window. Now, they can be added to Hearts of Iron 4, even without adding. You know, you could give every province a 1 victory point and name it. You could do it that way. That'd be a bit odd for the AI, and there would be other problems. And just make the real victory points provinces super valuable. That would be one effect. The other way is simply, because you can do unique pictures for a province, is just simply write the name in the picture, you know, as part of the graphic. You know, so if somebody wants to go in and make a mod right now, they could go in and, you know, pick and, you know, do it whether a unique picture or just grab a generic picture and write the name there. So when, well, what's this province name? I'll click on it now. That I could live with. Theater. Since I don't use theaters, have no use. Obviously, use this fair amount, and this even more to see what areas I'm patrolling. I know I'm just going over this because hopefully to have people from both games here. Strength map, I don't use that. Use this one a lot. So I wish we'd had. I'd like I say, be happy to have all those modes returned, but some more than others. Okay, you with your commandos come down and attack the city. Same with you guys. You punch down pass. Okay, well, we're now battling carrier base. And that is one thing they do much better with Hearts of Iron 4. Is with 3, there is basically no ability for the AI to refill the carriers once you lose the air. That's why the air is sort of super powerful for carriers. And it's real expensive so that the humans can't spam them, and at least very resistant. It's one thing for them to stop operating and go home and get repaired. That they could do. But once you kill the air on an operation, carriers become useless for the AI. But they've been able to successfully get the AI to replenish fighters for the carriers. So that is, in a nutshell, right there. Is why, and ultimately, I think Hearts of Iron. I think we should see about starting the oil improve efficiency there. Push ahead with that. Will ultimately be a better game because it's still being developed, and from everything that I know, I don't know everything, but from everything I know, is their intention is to keep developing Hearts of Iron 4 for a long time. Now, of course, like I say, I don't know everything, and companies, I'm not talking about Paradox here, but just generally companies have often put a positive face on things to the public when they may know that things are collapsing and they just don't want to admit it. So, you know, and I will also say some of the reasons I know things are going to get better is things that I know that I can't talk about, and because it hasn't been said publicly, and so I can't say publicly what it is. Oh good, we've got all this stuff down here. Again, those of you who, well, it's going to be forever, so let's strategically get you down. Those of you who've been around for a while know that I'm still a beta tester for Hearts of Iron 4. You don't need to go up there. So I do have some level of inside information, but again, I can't say what or not, but I will say I'm not a company employee, so I'm sure I know things. Or I'm sure that I know that I don't know everything. I'm sure of that. To what extent, I'm not sure. Meaning whether it's a lot of stuff I don't know about, and I only know about Hearts of Iron 4. Whether there's a lot of stuff I don't know about, or a little bit of stuff I don't know about, I don't know. And I'm, because I don't know what I don't know, but I can't say what I know through those sources. Now, sometimes what I do know does in this, I know this is all sort of teasing and whatever, because obviously I haven't said anything of what I know or don't know through the beta things, but I will periodically start talking about things because it has been announced through don't want to be invaded here, but I do want to start moving a lot of stuff down through other public, like they announced some stuff that through the relatively recent Paradox convention. I mean, it's a while now, that I quickly tweeted and posted about because I could finally do so. And so, like, yes, there's stuff that I don't know, and I'm sure that I don't know all what I don't know. And so, have I confused you all yet? I hope so. I am. But I know I didn't spill any confidential information, because I don't think I gave any information out. But just, I still very much have thoughts that Hearts of Iron 4 eventually might not be the game you want, because, and I'm drooling over all these really cool counters with this style of map. Nope, they've got Verdun. Well, we're coming back there. All this, and now of course I think to some degree I can't imagine why, if somebody really wanted to make a nice 2D map, that they couldn't literally almost take this map, and they could even decide to convert all the state mechanics and call each province a state, and almost entirely go back to this. But that would be a huge undertaking, and I don't foresee Paradox ever doing it. So it would have to be a mod maker. Tried to poke a few that worked around here, but they didn't have enough interest to do it. Worked in Hearts of Iron 3, because obviously this is a very modded map from what was originally done, and so some of the things are better in the 4 map. There's not as many mega provinces, down here in 4. So some of the less traveled areas, so some of these aren't so bad, but some of them are terrible. Some of the less traveled areas are not main front. The war areas are better, but then a lot, because I counted one time for the Netherlands just up here, a standard Hearts of Iron 4 and at least a Black Ice Hearts of Iron 3 map, twice as many provinces in the Hearts of Iron 3 map. So I would sort of like some degree of combining of both of those, and I have noted that they have added a few provinces in Hearts of Iron 4 for Black Ice. So the work may be done, and I think it was finally stated that yeah, I think it was finally stated that they did do a test with counters like these for 4. I know they did. But they just looked ugly and wouldn't work with the 3D map. So to get counters like this, you have to have a 2D map to have it work in Hearts of Iron 4. So somebody will need to make, or a group of people will need to make this type of a map, a 2D map. Then once that work is done, I don't know if the company will allow it, or would do it, or would allow somebody access to some of the stuff to make proper counters. They might do this. Because believe me, the company is not against the idea of having the counters like this. They think it's ugly. They think it won't sell. They think it's a niche market of even the Hearts of Iron 4 players. But they're not they like Black Ice. They don't really like Black Ice in that that's the game they want to play or make, but they like that Black Ice exists. They feel good about Black Ice, as well as Kaiserreich and all the other major stuff out there. They like that, and they know it. Part of it, they see it as, hey, it's filling a significant, they see it as niche, but significant niche of the game, and it's popular, and it will ultimately sell more games, and as they add more features to the game, we'll sell more DLCs as time goes on. So they like it. So how difficult for just the basic chip, coding here to be imported into 4, I don't know. And then, but if there was already all the other work done, and I know I'm trying to sell this probably to people who don't have the time, the skills, the desire to do this, but if they saw a good 2D map, I don't know how difficult it would be them, for at least the chips. I don't know about getting on map OOBs. Just in case you haven't heard, I know I posted about this, there will be developing a OOB / chain of command hierarchy. It is coming. That's one of the things that I knew for a while, and they announced at their Paradox fan gathering, and about a month later when somebody was, we need this, and what we already told you. Well, not everybody follows everything like I do, so and I poked them that you need to announce the things multiple times in multiple venues. They are going to do a command hierarchy. I don't know the details, so not that I'm trying to be coy about it, I just don't know. And I don't even know if they know what they're, because they haven't implemented it yet. But that is coming. So, but I don't know or think or any idea that it's necessarily going to be on map. So I don't know if they're going to do that. But just the idea of getting the chip that then we can come in and do this, add in all the details for all the different units. I don't know that they would be, against the idea of supporting that for the militia there. Maybe put the division forward. It's a better command structure. So if somebody were to create a map and talk to them about getting a basic 3D, because that's what sort of this is, a 3D chip to sit on the 2D map and display, whether the unit name. I like the commander on one side, the unit name on the other side. I like the X, numbers of, well, we can go down to battalions. Now, obviously, they don't have cuttable, separatable sub-battalions, but you can just create I don't know if a size thing, or whether they would have corps or hierarchy. So maybe just everything's division, so you don't need the X, but then some sort of relative strength, I like it on it, and then a national symbol, as well as a central, like where we zoom out. I know I'm talking a lot about counters now, but just feeling the mood for it, sorry. Zoom out a bit more to see, these are all infantry types. Zoom in. You can get the cool symbols if you like. But of course, I know people that, no players, that they don't read this well or don't like it, and there's a mod that sort of adds a picture of guys for infantry and a picture of a tank for tanks, and probably those people would prefer a 3D tank on the map or some guys. So, and I'm not against people wanting that as an option either, for if that's what they want, but I want to go to this. So it could happen, but like I say, there's a lot of stuff going to happen for Hearts of Iron 4 in, it's going to be multi-year cycle, so it's not like gamers saying the next DLC is going to, no. Maybe 5 years from now before something that you're ready to move, those of you that are still playing Black Ice, ready to move to Hearts of Iron 4. But I do really believe someday Hearts of Iron 4 will be so much better. Now, it might not be everything you want or expect, but I think, because I tell you, having the production of equipment is something I dreamed of before I ever heard of Hearts of Iron. Okay, that was sort of the game, because as you know, I'm a sort of old-time Third Reich player, the on-board map player. But before, so I go back with computers way, 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 way back to the 80s. So I was been dreaming of how I would design a game like this, and definitely one of the things was to produce equipment, to train a unit. Now it would be more like units like this as opposed to a division, battalions or brigades or whatever attached under a division type thing like this. So it's not exactly Hearts of Iron 4 or 3, it's sort of a mix. Was sort of in my head that I was designing, how I would design the game, and so having that equipment is a big thing to me. Manufacture, instead of manufacturing units. Units should be trained. Some units, like paratroopers or something, they get to be extra special. Long time training cycles, but for most units, it's pretty quick. To where it's not a major, delay. As long as you have a quote-unquote pool of trained men. Now, one of the things in this game in my head that I've sort of been wanting to have, I would have schools. And a basic school would be, basic training. And exactly the mechanic, I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but the idea that recruits would go become basic training for the different branches of the service. Obviously, combat, ground infantry combat training for the Army, some sort of, support for aircrafts for the Luftwaffe or any Air Force, and then basic naval training. But then they would be sort of like we have the officers here, is to have officer schools for the Army, officer schools for the Navy, and these would be different quality schools. Say Romania's naval schools or school might not be nearly as efficient as the German school or schools, that kind of thing. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't put a ship out here, crewed by Romanian sailors and officers that won't eventually get experience to become good, but they're not going to naturally start out as necessarily very good. Not necessarily crappy, but they're not necessarily a bunch of Afghan tribal people that somehow made it to the coast and are starting a naval school. Degrees of competency out of the school. So basic officer school, at least, for the different branches but then specialty schools is how I would do it. After basic force, radio operators or pilots or tank crews. Not necessarily something as simple as an artillery crewman, but some of the more specialty, because Panzers drivers were thought of as a bit of a elite type focus. So things like that specialty schools, and some of those, and then specialty like for various special forces, including mountain troopers or paratroopers, those would have various quality levels plus longer training cycles, so you don't go, oops, tomorrow I'm going to have 5 divisions of mountain troops with only 1 mountain training school to put the recruits through. So is why mountain troops are different and better than regular troops. Don't think I need him in the west, but we'll see. So I got all these guys heading down. And so I would definitely do, and maybe it's some unnecessary and some just would like to have the schools, and it's just an extra level of complication that doesn't help or improve the playing of the game. I don't know. That was sort of my thought. Okay. And Bologna. Good. Boulogne. Yeah. That's how I really properly pronounce it. Okay. You attack here. You attack here. The reason I'm not going through is because I'm hoping to link up to these various pockets. Okay, now you're going down that way, so you cut down through here, parallel to there. And so, since Podcat and crew have given me one of the great things that I wanted, which was production of equipment and not of units. That's one of the reasons that I really love Hearts of Iron 4 as a potential. It's not there yet, and I agree with you going, hey, it's not like this, and no, it ain't. That's one of the reasons I still want to play this, and not just because I get more views for Hearts of Iron 4 than I do for Hearts of Iron 3, but I get a respectable amount of views for 3 too. So if it was too few, and if it ever becomes too few, just letting whoever's watching right now know that it is not a threat. It's just if it ever becomes too few views, I'm going to end the series and just play it for fun and not have to do all the extra work of running it through the compressions, uploading it, What was the... These guys are good at city fighting, I think, so that'll help. Running it through the compressions, uploading, making the thumbnails. I really like chatting with you. That's one of the things. It's just a fun thing. Though it does take time at times, so... You know. Mostly letting these go on because we're not really seemingly taking too many losses, and we're getting a little experience for these guys. Oh good, got another province down here. Victorious. Take me out. And we've got Paris. We're defending against a non-existent counterattack. Okay, anybody able to move? Yes. You are able to move. So I don't want to go across the river, but I want to cut off. Okay, Rommel, you made it in the first wave into Paris. Good for you. You head that way. You attack. And down there maybe, because they may be reoccupying that province by the time. Yes, just like that. Well, I hope I've entertained you enough with my talking, and I hope I've entertained you with my playing here, that we've been victorious in taking out Paris. So, good point to end the episode. So please, if you will, like the episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And I really like it, like I was saying, if you guys make comments, because I love getting to know you, and that helps. But I also love talking about Hearts of Iron, World War II, history, other things. So really do appreciate that. So see you next time for more Hearts of Iron.